On this episode of Marketing Mavericks, we talk about measuring influence. What's your Klout score? And is any PR good PR? Coming up next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Marketing Mavericks is provided by CashFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This episode of Marketing Mavericks is brought to you by Warby Parker Eyewear. Get boutique quality, classically crafted eyewear, including sunglasses, at revolutionary prices. For a free home try-on of 5 stylish frames of your choice, plus free 3-day shipping, go to warbyparker.com/mm. And by Squarespace. Squarespace is the easiest way to create a beautiful website, blog, or online store for you and your ideas. Go to squarespace.com and enter the offer code MM at checkout to get 10% off. And by NatureBox. NatureBox ships great tasting snacks right to your door. Start snacking smarter with wholesome, delicious treats like apple cinnamon crave. To get your complimentary NatureBox sampler, visit naturebox.com/twit. That's naturebox.com/twit. This is Marketing Mavericks, episode 42, recorded Thursday, February 12th, 2015, Measuring Influence. Welcome to Marketing Mavericks. I'm Tonya Hall, your host. We're going to talk everything about the intersection of marketing and technology. Today, we've got a pretty rowdy gang that's going to share their insights on the entire social advocate and how we find people that have like high Klout scores and have some sort of social cred to work with brands and businesses, and why it's the pros and the cons, why it's good, or maybe why we shouldn't do it and why we should do it. And if we do it, how do we do it? We've also got our technical director, Anthony Nielsen. Hey, Anthony.
How you doing?
I see you've got Sven with you as well.
Yeah, he's napping behind me.
Sven's such a good dog. He's actually, so I saw on Inside Twit, he's a new technical director, right?
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Let me have him hop on.
There he is. Yeah. Hey, Sven. Obviously, the criteria to be a technical director here is we're setting the bar kind of high. He's so cute. So how long do you have him?
Oh, indefinitely. I'm not sure.
Indefinitely. Well, he's a great dog. Our guest today, without further ado, Olivier Blanchard, who is the principal at OABC, and he's at The Brown Builder on Twitter. Welcome, Olivier. Welcome back, I should say.
Thanks. It's good to be back.
It's good to be back. And we have Marcus Nelson, who is he's a serial entrepreneur and the CMO at Uprise.fm.
Howdy.
I think this is our first time to have you on, right? Have we done this before?
No, we have not. I think there were intentions.
I think we've tried many times in the past, just in my past life and my past shows. And we also have definitely somebody that the show knows very well and has been a guest on many of our shows on Twit, and that is David Spark. He is the founder of Spark Media Solutions. Welcome back, David.
Great to be on the show.
He's got such a great voice. It's great to be on the show. All righty, guys. So interesting topic today, and we see there's a lot of things that we're going to talk about, including the entire world of social advocates and how we hire people to represent our brand and how do we go about doing that. I know, Olivier, you had some strong points of view on that. You and I talked before the show about, in fact, I think if anything is a topic with Olivier is a passion point because that's how you roll, right, Olivier?
Yeah, no, I can't help it. I'm an opinionated Frenchman. It's in the genes.
It's in the genes, yeah. Well, okay, so let's talk about building the influencer base behind a brand. And we see it happen all the time. We've Garth Brooks recently, I mentioned this on a previous show, hired a bunch of social media people who have a lot of fans on Twitter. They may or may not be fans of country music, but he took them on a road show. They started in LA and then they came up to San Francisco and they were tweeting about it. You see it happen with award shows, whether it's the Oscars or the Grammys or the MTV Awards. And you see people that have these, and it doesn't just happen at events. It also, and around celebrities, it happens around regular brands. Brands are reaching out to people who have a lot of Twitter followers, or maybe you have a strong fan base on Facebook, or maybe you just have a lot of likes on YouTube. Why is this still such a big deal? And are brands doing it right? What do you say, Olivier?
Oh, we're gonna start with me. Okay, so I think it's kind of the flavor of the moment. It's not that influencer marketing is new. Endorsements certainly aren't new for brands, and so this is kind of like a natural evolution of that, especially with social media and quote unquote internet celebrities, whether they're celebrities on Vine or in the blogosphere or on YouTube. So it's perfectly normal, and I think there's a pretty good value to that. The issue that we're starting to run into already is that it tends to be kind of a low-hanging fruit for a lot of agencies, and especially with the ubiquitousness of Klout scores and the kind of lazy metric of audience size. It's easy for a digital agency, whether it specializes in influencer marketing or not, to try to build a revenue stream off of connecting random but relatively popular internet celebrities and quote unquote influencers with high Klout scores and big audiences with brands or celebrities or whatever. And try to push the notion that by virtue of the fact that they can pull a few eyeballs, they can have a positive impact on the brand, whether it's in terms of discovery or validation or
Olivier, I think you're also reading a little too much into this. They have an audience, and in the classic way that we buy advertising, we buy audience. And they are just going back to what you had said earlier. It's a lazy metric. So that's exactly what's happening here. They are just buying audience like the traditional way they purchase media. And there really is not much more to it. I mean, they say it's an influencer marketing effort and all that kind of stuff, but they are purely just buying audience like they would buy media traditionally.
But are they doing it right? I mean, are we actually seeing any sort of numbers from this? I mean, I mentioned the Garth Brooks. Did that make people want to actually attend his events or, download his music from iTunes? I mean, does it work or is it just kind of hype?
I would say it's probably hype. I mean, what ends up happening is if you don't have an audience that is consistent with, the target, you end up losing people. I'm sorry, I don't know the whole Garth Brooks part of it. I mean, I read it, but I don't know who the people are that he's using. But if, let's say Garth Brooks was using Robert Scoble, for instance, I think that would just be a waste of time and money because the people that follow somebody like a Robert Scoble are people who want to know about technology, who want to know about startups and the latest and greatest. And, maybe they're fans and customers of Rackspace, but they may not be country and Western fans, right? So I think it really has everything to do with, if you're going to put money and time into this, are they congruent with the audiences that the brands need?
How, David, maybe you can answer this. How are people deciding who is the right influencer for their brand or their product? I mean, how do they go about finding that right influencer?
Well, honestly, one of the greatest ways to find a good influencer is someone who actually cares about you to start with.
But how do you know? How do you know that they care about you?
Well,
how many times they mention your product?
Here's a super simple tactic that everyone can do. If you are lucky enough to have started a newsletter of some sort, these newsletters can give all your subscribers a certain rating, meaning these are the people who open the newsletters the most, they click the things the most, whatnot. So what you do is you then sort by those people who are, the 5-star people. MailChimp has a technique like that. So now these are the people who are most in tune with what you're saying. So if you ask them to do something for you, and this doesn't mean you have to pay them, but if you ask them to do something for you, they are more likely to do something for you.
Yeah, because
and you can kind of start in that way. And there's no doubt about it that there is an enormous value of building an audience to be your distribution network for you, to be your word of mouth network for you. You know, when you start paying people off, then you should start to look at, all right, would it be better for me to just purchase traditional advertising through some media outlet that I can have a guaranteed audience of, or would it be better for me to use this influencer network where I pay these people to who have this audience to get access to them? Now, one of the things you should be aware of is people who have enormous audiences, a huge percentage, as much as 60% of those people following them are fake accounts. So that is something that you have highly, highly discount when you're trying to build your audience that way.
So who's doing it right? What's a model we've seen where a brand is actually picking the right influencers?
Wow. Well, I mean, Ford kind of, you know, I don't want to say pioneered it, but kind of scaled it when Scott Monty was there. And I know that organizing their little, I can't remember the name of it now. It's been a few years, but they had all these bloggers that kind of applied for the honor of driving a vehicle for a few months and writing about their experiences. And there were a few road trips and different things. And it wasn't the most organic thing in the world, but it was a really good test and it got people's attention. And I think, you know, by virtue of the fact that the cars were also kind of cool and the bloggers were matched to the right vehicles, I think they were Fiestas. It was something, the Fiesta movement. I think it did a lot to create more of a discovery funnel for the line. It did more to validate the line for American audiences that typically weren't like super hot on small, racy, European-looking cars. So that was pretty effective as well. In more micro branding examples, I think, you know, being a cyclist, I look at what cycling brands are doing and what fitness brands are doing, and Rafa is a fairly young company that makes cycling apparel, very high end, very kind of classic looking stuff. And they're kind of like a love brand in a way. And what Rafa has done is partner, first of all, sponsor a major team that's doing pretty well in the grand tours around the world. So that's always a plus. But it's also partnered with quite a few cyclists, some of them professional, and then some of them just avid bloggers and photo bloggers and cycling travelers, to create all of these narratives and stories and kind of create a layer of narratives, a little kind of sub-universe around the product and around the company itself. And it's not getting a lot of attention. They don't really publicize it that much, but it's been very effective in the cycling world because everybody wants to wear Rafa clothing. The photography is beautiful. There's a sense of adventure and classic cyclism mixed with, you know, the modern trends. It's a perfect blend of influencer marketing and traditional marketing where the lines are blurred. You can't tell where one part ends and the other one starts. And I think that's a really good model for smaller businesses or smaller companies that aren't necessarily Ford, that don't necessarily have that budget or even that scale, but can dig really deep into a category and a passion to kind of pull a lot of attention and become the center of kind of like the realization of that passion in a way.
Well, and GoPro, although not small anymore,
Yes.
started off with a very similar. I mean, now they're, you know, definitely not a little
GoPro
guy.
has an advantage that a lot of companies don't have, and that they have a product that just the mere use of that product is literally startling. And if you have a product like that, there's very little you need to do. But I think one of the problems that people have about influencer marketing techniques is they come from the side of, how can we get these people to do something for us? Like, how can we get them talking about our campaign, our Ford products, our clothing, our stuff? And I should say, in our company, we do a lot of influencer-based stuff, and we take the complete 180-degree approach to that. It's not about getting people to do stuff for us. It's about making the influencers look good around your brand and building that relationship with an influencer. You can't just ping an influencer out of nowhere and just say, hey, would you come to this? Can you come do this for us and talk about this? Unless you're willing to pay out money for them. Sometimes you can be successful if you have a product like GoPro can be. But what we do is we have just a basic philosophy of let's just interview the influencers. Let's make them look good, but talk about a topic that's of interest to the influencer, what they're thinking about now, rather than can you talk about what we're thinking about right now? And we simply just stick a microphone underneath their chin, and we'll have the microphone flag of a company. And here, I'm just going to throw up a few of the clients we have, HP and LinkedIn.
Never heard of those guys. Never heard of them.
Juniper and Citrix, and maybe you've heard of this company, IBM.
Who's that?
And we just interview them. And by the sheer fact that they're talking about issues that are related, it's kind of an implied endorsement because the IBM logo's underneath their chin. They're not saying anything about IBM or any of these other companies, but they're talking about topics that are of interest. And now we're creating content with influencers on it. And we're making it clear, the exchange, instead of what you were saying, Olivier, about, the line is blurred. We don't try to blur the lines because influencers are smart. They're not, you don't want to try to pull a fast one over them, and you don't want to try to pull a fast one over the audience either. Look, I'm here to make you look good. That's my number one goal. But in the process of making you look good, I'm going to make myself look good, or really make the company that I'm representing look good as well. And that's essentially the goal we're aiming for.
But
just for the record, who does I mentioned this that blurred lines, I was talking about the not blurring the lines in the sense of trying to pull the fast one by the audience, but just not
blurring the lines between marketing and content.
Yeah, not compartmentalizing digital versus something else and influencer versus something else. It all blends together so that it's cohesive. That's what I was talking about. Not some kind of weird, underhanded thing.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah,
but you know who does the most seamless influence marketing is Red Bull. Because Red Bull doesn't come right out and have somebody talk about Red Bull. They have somebody wear a Red Bull shirt, and then they do something that's incredible, that's aspirational. And the person who's watching that person, whether it's a BMX biker, whether it's what's the new hockey skating thing that they do where they're rallying? I don't know what that sport's
I've seen that. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's incredible.
But again,
and I would say NASCAR is one of the original,
NASCAR,
right?
Yeah. Totally.
I mean, they've been doing this. They've kind of been doing their own thing with this model for such a long time, and I think it does impact. NASCAR fans are huge into the sport, and they definitely buy products based on the racer or the sports person that they like. I mean, they kind of started this. This isn't really a new thing.
Yeah, the more seamless it seems, that the more successful it becomes. When it's an outright. Remember the old days where. Maybe you don't remember the old days, but David and I were talking about black and white TVs earlier. But they used to, in the middle of the show, they'd stop and talk about some toothpaste, or they'd talk about some whatever. I mean, product placement was so up in your face, and that's how they advertised. So it was extremely interruptive. And our society, I think, as a whole, has gotten used to that, and it just doesn't really work anymore. People see that.
No, it does. It very much works. Conan does this a lot. Jimmy Fallon does this a lot. You know who does this unbelievably well?
Jimmy Fallon does it in a very subtle way. He brings it up. It's not so in your face. It's just oh, by the way, we've got the Pano guy. I'm blanking. Oh my gosh, young. What's his name?
Silence.
They'll make the product part of the content that they're creating.
Yes, exactly. So it's seamless, right? It's not interrupted. Right. I think that's.
But what the WWE does, which I think is interesting, is they'll put on a show. They'll put on a performance. And then through the process of the performance, they start weaving in their other events or other products as part of telling the story as well, which I find is a rather interesting technique as well.
I want to talk about the measurements and the software that we use and how we calculate this idea of influence or who's influencers. I mean, I know, Olivier, you were talking recently about this idea there's all these lists, and I want to get to that. But before we do, I want to thank a sponsor of Marketing Mavericks, and that is Warby Parker. This episode of Marketing Mavericks is brought to you by Warby Parker Eyewear. Get a boutique quality, classically crafted eyewear, including sunglasses, at revolutionary prices. For a free home try-on of 5 stylish frames of your choice, plus a free 3-day shipping, go to warbyparker.com. And in fact, Warby Parker, I've got my own personal experience. They make some really high quality materials sold in boutique shops, and I've visited boutique shops. They're available at revolutionary prices. You can buy multiple pairs, and they're styled after classic vintage frames. Other manufacturers keep prices artificially high at $300, $400, $500 and up, and now you have a better option for your eyewear needs with no more overpriced or bland choices. Warby Parker was recently selected as the #1 most innovative company for 2015 by Fast Company. They make high-quality, stylish prescription glasses and sunglasses. Glasses start at just $95. Like, where are you going to find that? Well, Warby Parker. And that is including prescription lenses. Progressive lenses are now available starting at $295. They use additional free-form lenses, which is the most advanced progressive technology. Digital application provides a large field of vision, so the design is more precise than traditional models of progressives. All glasses include anti-reflective and anti-glare coating and a hard case and a cleaning cloth. In fact, here is my hard case that I recently got right here, and these are the box. That's just actually so what happens is you're going to get a home try-on kit. In fact, you might be wondering how you can try Warby Parker stylish glasses for free. Well, the answer is yes, you can try them for free. In fact, with Warby Parker's free home try-on program, just go to warbyparker.com/mm, choose 5 pairs of glasses. That's 5 pairs. It's a super easy website. It's a really comfortable experience. You've got all kinds of ways that you can figure out the styles that are good for you. I did this myself, okay? And if it's easy enough for me to do it, and it's so easy. In fact, I had just recently visited a boutique and tried on glasses at the boutique, and they were pretty high priced, and I was kind of having a hard time figuring out what was for me. What would have been easy for me is to actually use some sort of way to tell someone this is what I like. And the person behind the counter was super nice, but she wasn't really hearing me. Well, the online features that Warby Parker offers really made it easy for me to, I didn't have somebody saying, no, you should do this instead. It gave me the glass frames that I was interested in. I ordered the home try-on kit, and I picked a pair of glasses that I liked. I sent the kit back, and it was a really seamless process. I ordered my glasses. I already have them already. This all happened really, really quick. They include special frame box, a prepaid ship, so I could actually the shipping label, I could just put back on the box and send it right back. It was just so easy. They've been doing this. They get how it works, and they get what's going to make it easy for you. And every pair of glasses you purchase, Warby Parker sends a pair to someone in need. That's right. Now you can feel good about ordering glasses. They partner with nonprofits like Vision Spring. That's pretty nice. I'm glad they do that. So give Warby Parker a try for a stylish new pair of prescription glasses or sunglasses at warbyparker.com/mm. Get a free home try-on and get a free 3-day shipping on your final frame purchase. That's warbyparker.com/mm. And we thank Warby Parker for their support of Marketing Mavericks. And I want to show you, again, what it's going to look like. So you're going to go to the website, and you're going to pick out the 5 frames that you think you would like the best, which is pretty much what you do at a boutique store. And this is what it's going to look like. I'm going to open this up for you here. Right here. These are actually sunglasses, which is my next purchase, by the way. So you're going to get these sunglasses if that's your thing. You're going to try them on. You're going to order them. It's super seamless. These are the actual frames here. I was real excited to get my box of frames and tried them on. I actually walked around and did a very scientific survey asking all of the TWIT employees what they thought, and pretty much everybody agreed that they liked the ones that I got. These are the frames right here. So it's pretty seamless. You're going to put it right back in the box, and you're going to send it back. They make it easy. Like I said, there's a shipping label. And here are the frames that I ordered. It comes with this really, actually very nice, it's got some cushioning on the inside. Nice, keep your glasses protected box here. You can put in your purse or whatever. And it's got a cleaning cloth. It's also got another bag inside. So if maybe you don't want to carry the hard case, you can carry the soft case. And these are my glasses. I actually posted a picture of them on Facebook. And these are them. I'm so excited. I wore them all day yesterday. Oh, look, there I am.
You could wear them now.
I know, I should, right? I can wear them now. Okay, well, enough about my experience. I know I talked a lot about it on Facebook, but it's a really great, and we do definitely thank Warby Parker for sponsoring the show. I'm a big fan already.
Here's the thing is they've had baked in influencer marketing with those glasses because invariably somebody posts on Facebook at least once a week. I see somebody and there's like 4 or 5 photos and they're wearing each one and they say to their friends, hey, which one do you think I should get? And that, oh my gosh, could you imagine any better marketing that your friends are on behalf of your company asking people to, hey, what do you think about these glasses? Because you know what's going to happen. Someone's going to look at it and go, oh, I could do that.
Is that what that is? Because I've noticed that too. And I thought it was maybe like some weird trend, but yeah, that makes sense now.
It's genius.
It's clever.
It's genius. Well, speaking of genius.
Every marketing move is referred to as genius or brilliant. I think it might be a slightly overstated comment.
Most excellent.
We could just say marketing moves are smart. Can't we just say they're smart? No, that's a smart marketing move.
It's smart. Yeah, it seems smart just seems so weak now compared to some of these other words, but all right.
Doesn't genius and brilliant kind of overdo it?
I don't know. It depends.
Well thought out.
Well thought out. That's a very good. There you go.
There's so much bad marketing that sometimes when something is actually kind of inspired and effective, I think it deserves a little extra boost.
Well but it's more than just marketing. It's like what I was saying, referencing to like Red Bull or GoPro, whatnot. A lot of product development has to do with marketing. If you're developing a product for where the nature of using the product lends one to want to share it, like Warby Parker, like GoPro, then that's all part of the whole product life cycle. That's a deeper thing. If you're in a situation where you work in the marketing department, they just say, hey, the product's done, figure it out, then you've got a whole other problem to deal with.
So I want to talk about measuring influence and how we do it. You've mentioned several times who's excited about the brand. There are all these software tools you can use, right? So there's Klout and there's Cred, which we used to talk a whole lot about Klout. We also talked about Cred. In fact, I used to talk about them, and especially when they were new. Is this something that we really pay attention to anymore? Does it still matter?
Well, it shouldn't matter. And the thing is, Klout is actually a pretty decent tool. It measures some interesting things like audience size and potential influence. I'd go as far as to say that. Does it actually measure influence? No, it doesn't. But it's, I think, one of the reasons why.
Tell me what the value of Klout is. I'm trying to understand what the value of Klout is because I just posted a photo of a picture my son did that was very silly, and then a few days, and I got like over 100 likes on it, and I get a message from Klout telling my Klout score just went up. Really? I got influenced because of my son's picture? I mean, it's insane.
Take it where you can get it, right?
Completely. So what does it measure? What is it measuring?
I'm not sure what it measures. And the thing is, it's changed a lot. The algorithm keeps changing. So I don't know if I'm more influential now or less influential than last week when the algorithm changed and it started measuring things differently, or if it's more relevant now than it was 2 years ago.
The president has less influence than Justin Bieber on Klout. Explain that to me.
Well, I
don't get it. He's got less influence than a lot of people on Klout.
That's everything that you need to know about the credibility and the validity of Klout as a credible measurement tool. However, Klout has been around for a few years. There hasn't really been anything that's taken its place. So Klout has kind of an established name. It has, I wouldn't call it a reputation, but it's kind of like the default tool for agencies to
for marketing purposes. They marketed it well.
It was marketed well, and
it's the
most digital agencies
because of good marketing, not because of a good product.
Well,
what about Cred? Did they do the same? I mean, basically, it's a similar product, right? I mean, do you guys use Cred? Do you even know what your Cred score is?
Yeah, Cred tried to do the problem with Cred is that there's not really room for two of these, and Cred wasn't different enough. What Cred tried to do, though, which I thought was at least noble, was to mix offline influence alongside the digital influence piece of it. And of course, that's very difficult to do.
Honestly,
because
do you know how successful that's been? I mean, I don't know. How successful has it been?
I mean, it hasn't been. I mean,
I would say we're like asking. I mean, is it still working? Is this something that you guys even pay attention to? I mean, the only time I know what my Klout score is when I'm on Twitter and I happen to see the number and I'm like, well, why is it up? Why is it down? What did I do?
Klout is only relevant because it hasn't become irrelevant. There's nothing else for agencies to use as a tool to quantify quote-unquote influence. And so they still use that tool by default. And until
that
something
goes
else
back to
comes
the comment
along.
you made earlier, Olivier, regarding about lazy techniques in terms of determining influence. Look, if you want to actually be effective for your business or to actually drive revenue, then you actually work hard on it. If you just want to literally put together a PowerPoint presentation to show that we got this guy with this Klout score and this guy with this and this and this and this, without actually digging deep and not showing how that translates to any revenue dollars, then yes, you can do something like that. It all depends on what effort you're trying to make for your business and how you're trying to save your own butt in your whole sort of, effort of your marketing plan. My argument is Klout is completely useless. I mean, just look at how the product is designed and how they measure your score. And here's the thing that's completely god-awful about Klout. They are only measuring who references you. So if people post or share an article that you wrote, Olivier, but do not reference you on Twitter or on Facebook in the process of doing that, Klout has no means to track it. It's not that they can't do it. They can, because we have people's search engines that can link your name to your Twitter account, your blog and whatnot. And if somebody shares a content, they could, connect all those dots and measure your score that way. They've known about this problem for years, and they've never fixed it. And so people can share my content, raise their own Klout score, and my Klout score never goes anywhere as a result. This is the critical thing that's wrong with this product. And they know the problem. They've done nothing to fix it.
Well, I think you're preaching to the choir. The problem is that until there is sufficient pushback from agencies, from the brand saying, no, we don't accept this as a credible measure of influence or anything, it's going to continue to be at the center of
So why don't you make
campaigns.
a call out now and say, stop using this completely useless product?
I think you just did.
That's
I
a good
think
way.
we're all agreeing
All of
with
us
you. We're trying
we're
to.
in agreement. Stop using this completely useless product to measure anything.
Our Klout score all just went down because
I don't
there's
care.
like somebody
I'll
behind there
just post
going,
pictures of my kid
Wow,
online.
great.
It'll go up and up and up.
yeah. I posted something about Kanye West, and anyway.
Oh.
So, my Klout
And
score
did your
went
Klout
up.
score go up because of that?
Yes.
So now you're influential about Klout? According to
Apparently.
Klout, I'm influential about Al Green. I don't know why,
Resume.
but I am.
Well, somebody
That's
has to
not a
be.
bad thing. I don't think that's a bad thing.
Okay, Olivier, I know this is a pet peeve of yours, and it's kind of in the same realm of these, lists of people that, here comes the list of people that are influencers. It's kind of like, here's a list of all of my friends, and they're all great influencers, and here they are, and go talk about this article you've been written up in, all 50 of you. And, I'm not saying that maybe they do or don't have influence, or these people, I follow most of them and I'm friends with some of them, or maybe most of them, maybe even all of them. So this isn't really a slam against anybody being listed, but it's this idea that, are we still really doing this? I mean, I've been there before where in the beginning and I was listed, I was like, oh, gee, thanks. But but I don't really know, what does it mean? Are they lists that we really should pay attention to? And are they annoying or are they helpful? What do you guys think?
I think that was the longest rhetorical question in the history of your show.
Maybe.
So
I don't know.
I think I'm like you. Initially, it was flattering, and especially when you don't really get a lot of recognition for years of work, and all of a sudden somebody recognizes you for being influential or whatever on Twitter or wherever. It's nice, and so I fell into that trap the first few years too. Now, jump ahead 6-7 years, and for one, those lists of influencers pretty much have looked the same for 7-8 years. It's the same 20 people at the top, and then there's just
by the way, because the people who create those lists, I should point out, the people who create the lists of who are the top influencers in XYZ, because you can find blog posts, just pick your category and look at, you'll find it. People who create those lists look at the list that the last person created to create their list. Again, this is a whole lazy process. This is how it happens. And that's why the same people keep cycling over and over again.
So
Sure, they don't go through a Klout list?
Actually,
They
well, I
may
just
do.
saw
The first guy may have done the Klout list.
Yeah.
one published 2 weeks ago, and the only reason I'm aware of these is because people send them to me just to like get my blood pressure up. But it was a graph, and you'll appreciate this since we just talked about Klout. It was I can't remember exactly what the degree or the type of influence was, but they were all marketers or content marketers or something. But in order to be on the list, they had to have a Klout score of 77 or higher. That was
people get hired based on their Klout score. Haven't you heard that?
It used to be the case. Is it still the case? I don't know.
I don't know if that's
still, but I've seen it in job posting. Must have a Klout score of X to do this. And I know also at oh God, I'm going to mess up, but a research firm, major research firm, they are very, very heavy on maintaining the Klout scores of their analysts. And
but you know,
I don't want to say who because I'm not 100% sure, but that has happened as well.
I'm not going to speak in defense of Klout, but I have to say that it's because and also Klout does not measure influence. Again, it measures potential influence, and if you dig deeper into it, it measures some things that are network size, et cetera. So there are some decent reach metrics in there, but in some instances, when you're hiring someone for their ability to speak to a broad audience, or at least to engage a broad audience. Although the Klout score, it definitely doesn't qualify them in terms of their competence, their skills, their experience. It does speak to that digital audience. And if the job requires them to come with one already, it's not that much of a stretch, I think, to require a minimum Klout score. I think that's within the realm of what Klout can be used for.
Well,
I don't think it should
I'm
preclude.
having a hard time believing you don't like Klout, by the way.
I wouldn't push him. Are you looking at what's behind him? Are you looking at the wall behind Olivier? I'm just looking at it right now. Like,
he's got two rings and
just
knives.
throw my books. That's all I got to do.
I'm feeling a little uncomfortable now. I'm just going to agree with Olivier the rest of the show.
I'm just going to wear like a camouflage hat next time and just put a bunch of guns on the wall.
Seriously, those are some serious knives back
Nobody
there.
will interrupt.
One of them's a boomerang.
The problem with Klout, not the problem. The issue I think you have with Klout is the fact that it is a baseline. And until we have a better baseline, people are always going to be lazier and they're always going to go back to the de facto. At least it's something that people look at and say, okay, I get it. I may not understand it, but we don't have something better. So until something better comes along, we're stuck with Klout.
That's right. Whatever.
But there's Cred. There was Cred, right? I mean, Cred tried to do the same thing.
Yeah, but Cred does the same thing.
It didn't have the marketing appeal. First to market.
No, it didn't. They're first to market and they did well. Yeah. Anyways, the bottom line is Klout score is going up because we're talking so much about Klout.
Let's tweet that.
No, it's not. Please. I tell you what, though, if we can set up some system where we all talk about each other and get other influencers to talk about us, we can get our Klout scores up 2-3 points in the next 6 months.
Okay.
I mean,
that's true. Or I could send you pictures of that my son has drawn, and you can increase your own Klout scores as well.
Or my very favorite tactic, which is post a bunch of scheduled quotes about things that you like, or pictures that you've taken, or somebody else, and then your Klout score goes way up because everybody likes a famous quote or a picture, right? I mean that's good. That's good for getting a Klout score.
I've noticed a trend, and I'm not going to name any names, but I've noticed a trend in the last year of quote unquote influencers, social media gurus, digital mavens, or whatever they're called now, posting pictures of themselves with their own quotes embedded in there. Oh, and actually, their entire Pinterest boards dedicated to this, and it seems really weird. Like, I mean, there are like hundreds of these, and they're not necessarily, the most inspired, thought-provoking quotes either. They're kind of absurd. It's almost like its own parody, but
it's amazing, but it's just amazing how well meme photos do. I mean, like literally, you can just type something into Twitter, but if you put it into an image, turn it into a meme picture, it does so much better. So, I mean, they're kind of doing the right thing, even though it seems a little kind of weaselly. It's just they're doing it because that's how people react to that kind of content.
Well, let's talk about real world Klout. We're talking about this company called Klout and measurement scores on like Twitter and like how people are using social media. But if you think about the real world, okay, so I'm going to mention this name I mentioned earlier. Did you guys watch the Grammys? I mean, if you didn't, you still probably heard about it. Kanye went up on stage and almost grabs a award from, back, and it was this big, that's all anybody was talking on social media and even on the news was this act of someone who was just attending the event, and he went up on stage and pulled another, prank. But yet that's who we ended up talking about. Is that real world Klout? I mean, how do we, obviously it's getting people interested.
It's a classic marketing line. As long as they're saying your name right and spelling it correctly, that's all that matters. The fact that even though we're slamming Klout left and right, I'm sure they're jumping up and down because, well, this is more credibility for us because they're not talking about cred, they're talking about Klout, which, by the way, cred has the same exact problems that Klout has. But in terms of Kanye West, there was a funny tweet that I saw where it goes, only 2 of my friends haven't posted a comment about Kanye. I wonder if they're all right. Because everyone was talking about it. It was kind of insane how much they were talking about. But, the bottom line with Kanye is like, you're so desperate for publicity that you have no problem literally tearing it away from everybody else in an effort to draw attention to yourself. So, well,
let's talk about, though, bad press is good press. A lot of the advertising that we saw at the Super Bowl was kind of depressing and lackluster, and sometimes people were actually doing something intentionally to get attention. I think nationwide, I'm not saying theirs was negative to get attention in the way that we're talking about, but it certainly got people talking about them. Was that good for their business or is it bad for their business?
Depends how you measure it. If you use Klout, you might think that it was good for their business.
Yeah, nationwide's Klout score went way up.
Yeah, if you don't really care about your place in the profession and your industry, and you're just trying to sell a positive story to a client, you could very easily go to Nationwide or any client in their situation and say, look at all the mentions that you got, or look at all the impressions, and only look at that, not put it in context. And the numbers on a graph could look really, really good. And you could, by quantifying it in that way, show a company that might not be aware of how this stuff actually works and relates to their real business. You could show them that their investment, that their spend in their Super Bowl marketing was excellent. And that's the danger of one of those things, because if you don't put it in context and you don't tie it back to the impact that it's going to have on the brand's credibility, on positive sentiment, on purchase intent, ultimately on transactions or customer lifecycle, then if you don't do that, then you're kind of tweaking the numbers to tell the story that you want, not the complete story. And I think the client always deserves the full story.
And I want to talk about this idea of really bad press, and is it all press, any press, good press? And I want to talk about this spoofs and hacking on Twitter and like what that means to the brand. And is we saw one, in fact, Twitter account do it intentionally for the Super Bowl. Did that really help them? I want to put some clarity around what you guys think about that. Before I do, I want to thank another sponsor of Marketing Mavericks. This episode is brought to you by Squarespace.com. With Squarespace, it's easy for you to create a professional website, blog, or online store. Squarespace features an elegant interface, beautiful templates, and an incredible 24/7 customer support. In fact, you may remember I've had several guests on my show that jumped in after talking about Squarespace saying, wait, I use Squarespace. And I think, in fact, you may remember Kim Nicholas, speaking of a guest she was on, we were talking about race cars and NASCAR, and she talked about the fact that she loves Squarespace. So many people do. You'd be surprised how many people are actually taking advantage of what Squarespace offers. And here's why you're going to love Squarespace. It's simple, powerful, and beautiful. Yep, making changes is clearer and simpler than ever. It's incredibly easy to use. That's what's probably one of my favorite features. And if you want some help, if you do, Squarespace has live chat and email support 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Squarespace starts at just $8 a month, and they take care of hosting so you don't have to. Plus, you get a free domain name if you buy Squarespace for a year. All Squarespace websites are responsive. Yep, that's my biggest hang up with a lot of websites is you go to use it on your mobile device and you can't find anything. It's so frustrating. They scale to look great on any device. E-commerce is available. Every website comes with a free online store. And with Cover Pages, you can set up a beautiful one-page online presence in minutes. It's perfect for creating quick landing pages for your brand, your personal identity, or to promote a new product. Start a trial with no credit card required. Again, it's so easy. And start building your website today. When you sign up for Squarespace, make sure to use the offer code MM to get 10% off your first purchase. We thank Squarespace for their support of Marketing Mavericks. Squarespace, built it beautiful. So easy. And that's my thing, is if it's not easy, I'm probably not going to do it. I'm just being honest about it. And Squarespace does do that. So you guys, thanks.
This goes back to our whole lazy metaphor we're going with.
At least we're honest about it. Although, I have to say Marcus is not lazy. You just started working out and getting all fit and trim. In fact, we talked this morning. You were at the gym, was talking about how like hot and sweaty you were. And I'm like, dude, way to go. Oh, look.
Had another one of these too.
Oh, we didn't have a lower third for this one. No,
that's all right. This is Henry. Hi, Henry.
Hi, Henry. You need a lower third. You should make the same face, Marcus. Yeah, this is why you have to watch the show.
Right.
You don't get the full, Now we know you're not actually in a prison cell. You're actually at home.
No, this is one of my son's beds. We had to do wired access for the show. So
yeah, I'm pretty strict about that.
Only wire here is the Xbox. So my 12-year-old son, this is his. So I have a 14-year-old, 12-year-old, and a 3-year-old.
I would also say that Olivier is not lazy. He's we've talked about his cycling. What is it? You cycle every day, or?
No. I mean, I'd like to, but it's winter right now, so I can't. Wait, I should speak in my special Axe microphone. Can you guys see my Axe microphone? Axe Dark Temptation, as irresistible as chocolate.
Good job.
The cycling thing. If I could do it every day, I don't have time. I need to win the Powerball, and then I'll be the worst professional cyclist in the world, and I'll be perfectly happy with that.
Well, if you don't play, you can't win. That's for sure.
I played.
Did you?
I played. I just haven't really.
What's
checked.
the number right now? Should I go get a
blackout.
ticket?
I don't know. Yesterday it was like 500 million, so the take home was something like 330 million.
Okay. So here's the thing: if you actually won the full jackpot and the Powerball, would you continue to be the brand builder? Would you do something else? Would you just escape?
No. Well, would I escape? Yeah, you'd never hear from me again. I'd just buy an island somewhere and become a supervillain. Yeah, I think I would be a James Bond villain. It'd be fun. Like have my own submarine and spy on people, do something. No, I think I'd still be doing this. I'd just be doing it a little bit less. Or I'd hire a lot of really good people to help me do it and take some of the load so I could focus on other things as well. The problem is I'm too scattered. I have too many hobbies and interests. So it's not, I don't want to quit any of them. I just want to add more. And that's a little bit of a problem. So I could afford to probably. And
who would we get all snarky comments from if you weren't the brand builder? I don't know. David would probably fill the gap.
I think I can do a few of those for you.
Yeah, David. Well, okay, so I want to talk about the advertising and who, speaking of being snarky, I mean, who was it? I'm trying to remember now. It escaped me. I was so busy talking about Squarespace, but the Twitter page that went rogue right before the Super Bowl, and they pretended to have a bunch of scheduled tweets that I know Scott Monty wrote about it, and he was like, this is a perfect example of real-time marketing fail, and I thought the same thing. It turned out I think either they pretended that they did it on purpose, or they really did do it on purpose to try to get it was a food product. Oh, it was egg rolls. That's right.
Yeah, publicity stunts are just publicity stunts, whether it's Kanye jumping up on stage and also, by the way, whether it was for his own ego and need for attention or for the Grammys that might have thought that they needed to have something like this happen in order to be spoken of and be a big deal. Their relevance, or the relevance really of most award shows, has kind of been waning over the last few years, regardless of the audience size. So when you see opportunities like this, like the Super Bowl, or the Olympic Games or the World Cup or anything, it's a magnet for people looking for attention, whether it's a brand or some joker somewhere or some hackers or a celebrity looking to.
But also they open themselves up for experimentation. The Super Bowl, the Grammys, they want experimentation in advertising. They want experimentation in terms of stunts. I mean, a stunt is a stunt. They're not designed to succeed 100% of the time. They're designed to be a very risky endeavor, and you have to set up your system in place that you can handle a risky endeavor. It could literally fall 100% flat on its face and never be spoken of once, or it could be a Kanye West moment like that. And you got to be ready for both sides. And, you know, part of that is, you know, having your website ready for the insane amount of traffic, and also, you know, having your PR ready to deal with, you know, whatever may come your way, or, you know, it all may fall flat on its face. But you know, part of doing this is you experiment. You experiment in small little ways before you get there. Start with a small award show and see if you can pull off a stunt, if that's what you want to do, and sort of get some recognition in that way.
One of the questions from the chat room, which I thought was kind of a good question. I'm hearing an echo there. But one of the questions from the chat room is what products have been successful or most lucrative with that type of marketing, with this kind of influencer program? Who's actually, you think, really, I mean, not NASCAR is like an industry, but what, like maybe brand or very specific product has done
I don't
well?
think anybody really knows. I mean, it's not like those numbers are necessarily shared.
True.
I can tell something from personal experience, though. You know, from personal experience, you know, one of our clients, a company called Tripwire, a big security firm, we deal with creating content in the B2B space, specifically around influencers. And we don't go and ask influencers to do stuff for us. As I said earlier, you know, we just go out and we interview them, and they're branding around them. And here's what is critical is that this company Tripwire made a very deep commitment to building relationships with influencers through content. And the first year we did it, which was 6 years ago at the RSA conference, big security conference, you know, we interviewed people, and people were like, Tripwire, yeah, I kind of know them. Aren't they open source? Which is the way they started. But after the first year, you know, when I was chasing down interviews, then it was easier to get them. And they started saying, oh, we love Tripwire. And then the following year, you know, they were chasing me down for me to interview them. And then, you know, one year, you know, one well-known analyst was all excited that she got onto a Tripwire video. Now, we can't take full credit for this, because the whole company as a whole built a commitment to maintaining these relationships with these influencers over the long time, because they saw it as a long play, a long relationship build. You don't just beg someone to do something for you, pay them off, and then be done with them. Relationships are, you know, for a long time. And so they understood that, and, you know, employed us to be sort of a critical part of making that happen. And that's our feeling, especially if you're in the B2B space, because so much is purchased through influencer decisions and comments, and there's so many people involved in the purchase decision, that's kind of critical in this whole process.
I want to talk about the idea of getting paid, and if somebody's maybe interested in being an advocate or an influencer for a certain brand, maybe they're just really excited about whether it's egg rolls or cameras or whatever it is. But before we do, I want your guys' thoughts on that. I'm actually going to thank another sponsor of our show, Marketing Mavericks. This episode is brought to you by NatureBox. Right now, NatureBox is giving you a chance to get a complimentary trial box of their most popular snacks and just pay, get this, $2 for shipping. Life is hectic, and it's hard to make the best snacking choices. When you're looking for a quick pick-me-up, do what I do. Get delicious, healthy snacks at naturebox.com. NatureBox has hundreds of delicious, nutritionist-approved snacks. They've got 0 artificial flavors, colors, or sweeteners, 0 grams of trans fat, and no high fructose corn syrup. You'll even find snacks with the bold flavors you crave. So in the afternoon, when you're hungry, and we've all been there, and I'm there just about every day, you're a little stressed, you need to grab a snack, grab Asiago and cheddar cheese crisps, or sour cream and onion almonds, or blueberry Greek yogurt pretzels. They just sound good. They don't just sound good, actually. They also taste great. You know you're going to snack, so get smart about it with NatureBox. Start your trial today and get a complimentary sampler box at naturebox.com/twit. Stay full, stay strong, start snacking smarter. Go to naturebox.com/twit, and we thank NatureBox for their support of Marketing Mavericks. And I'm actually just going to have a snack right now. No, seriously, we have tons of snacks here. I mean, definitely Twit takes care of us, but the best snacks are the ones that are actually not going to make you feel gross, like you just ate something that you shouldn't, or make your stomach upset. And NatureBox has a lot of great options. Like right here, guys, want some? I'll share with you.
Is that the bold flavor you crave?
This is the bold flavor I crave. Honey Dijon
consumer
pretzels.
as well. I love them as well.
Honey Dijon, or maybe you like a little sweetness, right? That's sweet blueberry almonds right here. I think I'll have both of these right now.
I want the honey mustard.
It is really good. The honey mustard is really good. It's one of my favorites. So I actually like the pine. There's all kinds of, I can't even begin to tell you. Get your free trial box, guys.
The mouth is watering now. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. So I know people have asked me this question, and it's interesting to try to go down this path and explain to them. But people have asked me, how do I get into an influencer program for a brand, and can I get paid for it? And I guess my question to you on the flip side is, should brands actually be paying people to talk about their product? I mean, I guess, you could look at it from the standpoint that we've always done that, right? But as a consumer, and I follow somebody and they're talking about a brand, am I just going to say, well, they're paid to advertise, or do they really love it? I guess that's the quandary. So first off, how does somebody get into a program, an influencer type program? What would your advice be to them?
I would say, first of all, you have to become an expert in something, right?
Okay.
If you're not known for something, why would somebody fire you up to represent a brand? I always think of, remember iJustine? She did that deal with Mosey, and she was kind of their advertising person, pretty face, what have you. But, iJustine's kind of known for her game playing and video games, and Mosey's for data storage, and that never really kind of clicked with me, like why that made sense. But if they would have picked somebody who was a storage expert, that this is totally not. I'm riffing. I don't know who that would be, but maybe a Scoble, right? I don't know. But somebody who actually has data security, has data sort of experience, and is known as that person, wouldn't that person make a better fit? So if you want to be somebody who would be a spokesperson, if you want to be turned into a celebrity, you'd want to get real deep and knowledgeable about whatever that topic is. I think that's your best play. I think the biggest challenge is figuring out what that is and who that person would be, who the brand would be that you'd want to align with.
So
I don't think it's a lucrative endeavor, though. I would not go through it as a sort of a job
I'm going to be Yahoo's spokesperson. I'm going to do it.
I mean, honestly, I just received an email from a company that asked me to attend their event and blog about it for free. Yeah, of course they want me to do that. And they said, let's set up time to chat and talk about how you're going to come and work for us for free. And I'm like, well, no, It's not going to happen. And so, sometimes I go cover events, per my own interests on my own dime. But it's, usually we're busy enough doing other stuff that, we're not going to do that. And that's what everyone would like to happen.
So do you think they just need to have a lot of fans on Twitter? Do they need to have great following on Instagram? Do they need to have a high Klout score?
My attitude is, don't ask other people to create content for you. Create your own content and put them in it. And in the process of doing that, it's all going to come back to you in spades. It's such a sort of misguided notion of, let's hire a PR firm to bug a bunch of influencers, and by the sheer volume of hitting people that, someone's going to eventually write about us. And I just posted an article I wrote about that. PR pitches are like requests for anonymous sex. Sure, if you ask someone on Craigslist, will you have sex with me? You will eventually find someone that will do it. It may not necessarily be a Playboy Playmate, but you will find someone.
No, that's a good note for the Happy Valentine's Week.
Wait,
is this
what was
from
that site?
experience, or where's this coming?
So here, Mark, let me explain how you're going to do this.
This rebuttal brought to you by Java Monster. Java Monster, like Red Bull, but more like coffee. So no, I just wanted to add something. I think we can go back and forth on this, but I think it's a little bit short-sighted to only look at the notion of creating the content and putting the influencers inside it, and not ask the influencers, or at least not let the influencers or empower influencers to create their own content as well. I don't think it's an either-or thing. I think it's an and thing.
Wait, why would you have to do anything? Olivier, why would you have to do it? Why would you even have to suggest it to the influencers? If the influencers want to write about it, they will write about it. You don't actually have to build a program with them.
Why
would you have to even do it?
I'll try to tell you why. So I think that when we're talking about influencers, first of all, we're talking about very different types of people. There's not just one giant amorphous kind of category that you throw influencers in. You have your macro influencers. So these would be your celebrities, like Ellen DeGeneres, like Oprah. If one mention by these people will make traffic to your website explode, it will probably increase sales, assuming that the mention was positive and not negative. So they have a massive audiences, whether or not they're subject matter experts, whether or not they have any kind of credibility or expertise in your product or in your category, in your industry. One mention by them is going to be one thing. So that's the macro influencers. Then below that, you have another layer of subject matter experts. And so for tech companies, for instance, that could be analysts, financial analysts, tech analysts, people like Robert Scoble, possibly journalists, bloggers, people who actually are in the industry or in that vertical and speak about it a lot and can kind of, maybe translate and create context around a new product, a new service, a new technology, a new company, et cetera. So macro influencers, subject matter experts. And then you have a third layer, which is kind of like the outer layer of influence, which I tend to think of as kind of like a volume layer of long tail users, of really passionate, actually, I'm not even going to say passionate, but real true fans, real power users. And so for cycling, that it's basically people who wear the clothes and ride the bike and drink the drinks and pop their little goo and energy gels. People who do it all the time and post their pictures or talk about it, not necessarily because they're paid to, but because that's what they do. And so once you realize that you have these three major categories of influencers, then you realize that there are different dynamics that come with working with all of them. In some cases, the dynamics are simply to recognize them and say thank you every once in a while and throw them a bone or even like throw some swag their way. To thank them with absolutely no strings attached. In some cases, for the subject matter experts, for instance, the relationship with them as influencers might not be one of paid endorsement necessarily. It might just be, hey, look, we like what you're writing about. We think there's an affinity between what you usually talk about to your audience and what we have to offer. We'd like to fly you to our next conference where we're going to demo our new technology. We'd like for you to, have access to some of our researchers, some of our developers, some of our executives, and we'll pay you for your time. You can write whatever you want, but we're going to go ahead and fly you there. If there's a fee because it's going to take 3 days or whatever, or there's a fee because you want to be paid to actually write something because it's going to take you 3 hours, we can talk about that. But there's I think, no expectation or that subject matter expert will write what you want them to write according to some script. It's just, if they like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't. And then you have your macro influencers, which again is kind of the same thing, and that might be a deal with really good PR, paid product placement, a paid endorsement, like Matthew McConaughey and driving Lincolns, whether he's been driving Lincolns for a very long time or not, which requires I think a completely different approach.
Everything you've described depends on a lot of factors with the product. The product has to be killer, like in the cycling example, or you have to have an insane amount of money to pay for access to talent and stuff like that. That's all very good. I mean, there's nothing wrong with anything you said, but a lot of things have to be in place for you to even start with what you're suggesting. You have to have an enormous fan base, or you have to know where to get access, and your product has to be of a level to attract that enormous fan base. It's just, there's a lot of factors that have to happen there. I will tell you one technique that Dreyer's did that's specific to your macro technique. And this is a technique that works very well, that wouldn't require you to pay an Ellen or an Oprah, but you can pay a level below that and still get that access. So Jane Krakowski was on the show 30 Rock, did a thing with, I believe it was Dreyer's Ice Cream. And they did a series of silly videos where they morphed her into classic films like King Kong and whatnot. She made an appearance on The Ellen Show, which gave her an opportunity to talk about that project. So that's how you get that kind of macro process. Again, requires you to have the money to be able to hire a Jane Krakowski to do something like that.
Right. Well, I mean, it's, it all depends, like you said, on what you have in place. But I don't think that you necessarily need to have scale. I'm seeing the macro influencer is always a huge hit if you can pull it off, whether it costs you any money or whether you just got lucky and built the right relationship. The SME is a little bit easier to do, but the volume, the long tail user piece works super well for niche communities. Whether you're selling jeans to hipsters or hats to skateboarders, it doesn't really matter. I think that for companies that don't have much of a budget, to be able to, and quote unquote, because I hate using the buzzwords, but to really engage with your core users to find out who they are and empower them to kind of continue doing what they've been doing to promote your brand and show it in the context of their own lives. Especially with channels like Instagram, where they post pictures and your product is in the background. They're not in your content; they're in your product, and they're creating content around your product and the impact that it has on their lifestyle. I think is really important. And you don't have to have a huge budget for that. You just need to understand how it works and to have at least a certain degree of attention to be able to drive that forward a little bit until you get to a point where you can scale it and maybe spend a little bit of money on it.
Speaking of scale, Titus in the chat room said, since we mentioned Kanye earlier, to only be to fair, would be to say that Kim's butt can sell anything. Is that an endorsement? No?
I don't know if it can sell anything, but actually, if you put an advertisement on it, I guess I'm sure it would sell something.
Okay. That would be weird.
Wow.
It could happen.
Well, we could do an entire whole other show on
Kim's butt?
on butt implants and I mean she's obviously helping sell this new procedure and if like me you've been spending a lot of time on Instagram, she definitely started something. I think there's a shadow industry of butt implants that we're not seeing, and if we were talking about impact on sales. I think that it's whoever worked that out or however it's working, it's brilliant because obviously cosmetic surgeons are making a lot of money with these procedures now.
I want to hear from you guys and find out what it is you're working on. We could talk about butts all day, but I like big butts just as much as... Why
start the show on butts?
I know, right? So, Marcus, what is it?
I was totally muted there, and he said the shadow of the butt. Now he was like, and nobody heard me. I was like,
oh, sorry about that, Marcus. I could see your expressions. This is why you had to... You have to be watching the show to totally get Marcus's little... very characteristic outburst there. So, okay, This Week in Butts are out. Okay, so what is it, Marcus, that you're working on right now?
This Week in Butts? That's going to be the... Go ahead, Marcus.
That's from the chat room.
I got a bunch of stuff going on. The biggest thing right now is Uprise. It's a new music service, which, it's not another Spotify or RDO or anything like that. The idea is that those kinds of services have access to 30 million different songs, right? That's the catalogs of, all the major record labels. There's 3 major record labels right now, and a lot of some indies still exist. And what we've decided to do is we focus on what we're calling remnant music. These are the live recordings. These are the studio tracks. These are the kind of lost tapes types of things. And what Uprise is trying to do is they're trying to create this kind of personally curated space where you as the artist can choose what are the songs that you want to play. We work with the record labels to free up songs that might have been recorded for an album but never made the album, but maybe the artist is still real passionate about it, and it gives the artist a chance to monetize this. This is a catalog that's sitting on a shelf that nobody's ever heard, and they're not making any money off of it, so we're helping the artist get out in front of them and then creating a very unique experience so that the fan who just can't get enough of Bob Dylan or can't get enough of Katy Perry or whomever it is, Missy Elliott, and they could go to this site and then get access. And this is personally curated by the artist, so they choose what they want and they engage with them. And so it's creating a new service, and it should be live probably end of this year.
Nice. I like the idea they can monetize. I think that's the big issue, right? That artists keep complaining about. So cool. We'll be checking that out.
Yeah, Uprise FM.
Uprise FM. And David, what are you working on right now?
Well, we're still doing lots of great work for, it's mostly B2B tech companies, like the ones I sort of flashed on the camera earlier. But I would like to just plug a fun little ebook that I have that's available. It's only 99 cents, so everyone, I think, can afford it. The 80 Annoying Communications That Must End. It's a collection of 5 years of complaining about different ways that we communicate online and in the real world. And it's a fun read. And so please share it with everyone you know and read it. Yeah, you can just go to Spark Media Solutions and click at the top and you can get it.
That
right
is
there.
a crazy
Thanks.
cover, a picture there. I mean,
That's like me with hair.
that is you. Totally you. And Olivier Blanchard, what are you working on right now?
Oh God, what am I not working on? So I'm working on a business guide for digital with my friend Daniel Newman that'll probably come out in the next month and a half. I'm not working on a follow up to this yet, social media ROI, because it's still doing super well. And
how can they check that book out? Actually.
Well, just Google it. But you can buy it from pretty much any decent bookstore. If your bookstore does not have this book, you need to fire your bookstore. And you can buy it on Amazon. It actually comes in a bunch of languages. So if you want to read it in Spanish, you can do that. German, Korean, Japanese, Italian.
Do you speak
For some
French?
reason, they did. Yeah, I'm French. English is my second language. But for some reason, my publisher didn't feel like France was a great market for it. So yeah. So ironically, my book was not does not yet exist in French.
Then give us a read from it and say something. Say something
What,
from
in
your
French
book.
or in
Yeah,
English?
in French.
In
We
French,
wanna hear
well,
it.
I'd have to.
David's not
I
amused.
can't. I'm not a translator. I can't. I'm not an interpreter. I can't like read something in English and then just speak it in French. I mean, I can say like bonjour, comment ça va, but that's it. There you
How
go.
are you?
Is that good enough?
I don't know.
Ouais.
Say more.
Say
Say
il fait
something.
beau aujourd'hui. On est encore en hiver. Il fait froid.
I like
that.
it.
So okay.
Easily
So the other
amused.
thing I'm working on is actually a different book project, which is completely different from this because it's fiction. So I've been kind of going back and forth. I'm writing a business book, then I'm writing a fiction novel, and then I go back to a business book, and then I write another novel. So I am in the process of writing the second installment in the Nemesis Engines series, which is a Jules Verne type World War I epic adventure with a little bit of steampunk in it. So there's like airships and all kinds of stuff. So it's a fun little project. It's going to do well, and it's going to be an HBO series someday. I guarantee it. So that's it. Yeah, and I'm also in the process of launching a digital agency this year in the next few weeks, maybe month and a half, called Klout Digital. That's going to focus on micro campaigns and pilot programs for companies. So
And
more on
Klout
that
scores,
soon.
right? Okay, no.
What's that?
And Klout scores.
And Klout scores as little as possible, but yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure. Well, thanks, guys. This has been a lot of fun. I really appreciate all your insight on this topic and this conundrum around do we meet Klout scores and how we get social influencers. I appreciate you guys jumping in and having fun. I'd love to have you all back.
Well, thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Yes, very much. Thank
All
you.
right. Well, thanks, guys. And that wraps up another episode of Marketing Mavericks. You can find me and figure out what I'm doing here at Twit TV and beyond by emailing me at mavericks@twit.tv. I want to hear what you think about the show, maybe your insights, and I do read your email. So thanks very much. You can find me on social media by going to @Tonya Hall Radio on Twitter. Maybe find me on Facebook. Yes, last night I posted the picture. As soon as I got my glasses, I was so excited. My Warby Parker glasses, I posted that. And, let me know what you think. Everybody, thanks for tuning into the show. And don't forget, we're going to have a new time starting soon at 12:30 Pacific time, 3:30 Eastern time. Until next week, everybody, have a great day.